Good afternoon from Manila. We just had a walk here in Taguig City, back where it all began. As we were looking to go for burger and fries that more than wanted, we walk all that way, turn out it's closed, so the next best thing, we found a little restaurant that was open just around the corner, maybe like 2-minute walk, and we're going to eat some local food instead, which to be honest, I prefer. Then I might look to get a beard trim. There's plenty of barber shops here in Taguig City. Nice. This has got like chicharron style pork, the crispy crackling skin inside a broth of some sort, and then we have this sinigang and of course some rice. Sick, look at that. This is the fried to an absolute crisp. And I've got this, which has been boiled away in the soup. It's taken on a lot of flavour with the soup. It's very juicy. Well, let's compare it with the crispy chicharron style. Chicharron wins. I love that crispy, juicy rendered fat. It gives it so much flavour, texture. The outside is almost crackling style, but then you've got like that soft, tender layer of fat underneath, and then the meat, which has also been cooked perfectly. Both types delicious, but that one wins. And of course, another juicy bit of pork and broth. Keep the 70 pesos change, because to be honest, I think he did a really good job. He really spent a lot of time and effort like going through it, and he gave me a little massage at the end. I'm not sure what the thing rubbing his hands in my eye sockets was. That felt a bit weird. I thought he was trying to gouge my eyes out, but yeah, other than that, great job. So, and it's still with the tip infinitely cheaper than it is back home in England. So the least I can do is chuck in a bit extra. I finally feel like a clean man again. We've stopped here for some boba tea. That boba tea, I just remembered when I saw it with the bubbles. I had it at a Taiwanese place in Sheffield once, but I think that was like pre-made, and this one, it made right in front of us. So, still a different experience nonetheless. So let's give it a go. Oh, that's good. This is like a caramel flavour, it's like a caramel frappe. And then with the bubbles, those sweet, chewy little jelly bubbles. Oh, that's good. Hello, you alright? Friendly people here in Taguig City. Every now and then someone will stop and say hello. You don't really get foreigners around here, as it's just a residential area really. But I love the vibes here. Kind of hectic, but peaceful in the same way. I don't know how to explain that in a way that makes sense, but that's the vibe I'm getting. That's bloody good. I think it's my first time having something sweet here in the Philippines. Like, sweet as in the dessert kind of thing. Obviously most food is sweet, but sweet in a different way, you know? Oh. And I'm enjoying it. Tricky to navigate these narrow streets when there's bikes and tuk-tuks and cars at every turn. We've just hours to go before I fly home from the Philippines, or to Dubai at least. We figured we should fit in one more thing, something important and historical here in Manila, and that's Fort Santiago. It was a former Spanish fortification built during their occupation of the Philippines in the 1500s. It was destroyed in an attack by the Chinese and rebuilt, and since then has been occupied by, of course, the Spanish, but also the Japanese and the Americans, all as, you know, military forts, but also as internment camps and prisons for Filipino soldiers, but not just soldiers, the civilians. Since the Second World War, after it was handed back to the Philippines, they decided to make it as a shrine to the sacrifices of the Filipinos for their freedom and to the losses in the Second World War. The reason it was built here, apparently it was a very strategic location, and you'll get a lot of Spanish vibes in this area from the buildings and from, of course, the ruins. Typically, there is an entrance fee, a small one, but you do have to pay. However, as luck would have it, today is International Tourist Day, so they waived the fee for everyone. Yeah, it's completely free entry. So as you can see, the fortification walls, very similar to Spanish fortifications you see anywhere, like the ones I saw in Colombia, and probably countless other former colonies of the Spanish. This here is the main fort of Intramuros, the one that was originally burnt down by the Chinese pirate. Wow. As you can see, it's now beautifully well kept. The gardens routinely maintained. The central plaza, Plaza de Armas, used as an open space for military drills, marches and arms. Monument to Jose Rizal, a national hero mortar, was erected on this site. And this is your man Jose. This one? Here was once a military barracks where all the young officers would stay. But when the Philippines got it back, they converted it to an outdoor theatre. They named it after Roger Suleiman, once the leader of the Luzon Empire. A fairly old empire that predates the nation of the Philippines. And something else about this barracks is that the day before the execution of their national hero, your man Jose over here that we looked at earlier, was kept there right before the day of his execution.
So brought the grim part of the fort, the dungeons of Fort Santiago. These were most recently used by the Japanese, and after it was liberated, up to 600 bodies of Filipinos who were starved, suffocated, and otherwise tortured by the Japanese were found in here. Unfortunately, it's closed because there are high tides. All of these, as you can see, are made by students entirely out of Lego. These are the various landmarks in the area. You have San Ignacio Church, you have Iglesia de San Nicolas de Tolentino. All of these constructed out of Lego. They're quite impressive. Really quite impressive. And as you can see, I am really quite boiling hot. We have an aircon here. I'm gonna go get a bit of that. Feels good. Now, why did the Spanish deem this such a strategic position to build their fortification? One of the oldest that they built during their occupation of the Philippines. Well, it's kind of obvious when I show you this. Very easy access to this river. And of course it's heavily fortified on these sides. Maybe not as much when it was absolutely pillaged by a Chinese pirate, but this new fortification would definitely be hard to breach. It's really interesting to see here the history of Spanish occupation, and then American, and then Japanese. All the bullshit that the Filipinos had to go through on their way to securing independence and freedom. Then to go through dictatorship from one of their own. Man, they had it tough. And then across the river you see modern Philippines. A mixture of poverty, unfortunately, but also of high-rise skyscrapers that suggests some economic growth. Although there is a lot of disparity, of course, still here. Just in Manila alone, you'll see homeless encampments next to five-star hotels. It's no different from the rest of the world in that there's a long way to go. Here's a little watchtower, and I can't tell you just how effective this is at keeping you cool, because the breeze is just coming through these little slits in the tower, and it feels even better than the aircon did. Whew. And here we're making our way into the old town, Manila's old town, built in the 1500s originally and restored over the years to keep it looking as fresh as it is. Definitely reminiscent of parts of Cuba, Colombia, and other Spanish influenced places. I'm just drinking a Pocari Sweat to try and re-energize and rehydrate.
We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer. God of mercy and compassion,
We made it to Manila Airport, go through security, just less than 2 hours spare until my flight. The air conditioning here is such a treat. Anyway, there's just something that I wanted to show you. Kenny Rogers Roasters. You might be thinking, Kenny Rogers, isn't that the famous American country singer? It is indeed. And back in the USA in 1991, he launched, with some investors who had previously invested with KFC as well, his own chain of chicken eateries. I believe they focused on like rotisserie chicken, fast food sort of venture. Eventually, they failed, closed all the US operations, and were bought out by what I believe is a Malaysian company. So now in the Philippines you see Kenny Rogers Roasters all over the show. I was really curious, I'd never heard of it before, so I had to Google it when I saw them a couple of times in Manila. I'm like, Kenny Rogers Roasters, did they pay for his likeness? Is that like a Filipino brand? But no, that's the story behind Kenny Rogers Roasters. A failed venture by the musician himself that found new life here in Southeast Asia. Just a bit of interesting business and pop culture knowledge for you there. Are we going to try a Kenny Rogers Roasters? I might try a Kenny Rogers Roasters. Who knows? I'm just walking around the gate now, seeing if I can find a bar. I'd really love at least one last Red Horse before I leave the Philippines, for God knows how long. It doesn't look like I can find much. Don't think people like to drink in the airports here. Usually just see fast food chains and cafes and ice cream shops and whatnot. Never really see dedicated bars. Or can't for the life of me find anywhere selling Red Horse. I'm in another airport. How is this supposed to represent the Philippines? The biggest international airport in the country, the capital city, the heart of Metro Manila. And Red Horse is like the Holy Grail. I managed to find, however, a nice little cafe in the centre of the terminal, selling Asahi beer. And I am impartial to an Asahi beer. However, at 230 pesos, I better really savour it. And with almost 2 hours to go, I can't be singing too many of these at that price. Never decided to go for a Kenny Roasters, wasn't fancying it. Got a couple of bags of crisps and a bottle of rosé wine, cheapest the duty-free offered. You're not supposed to drink it on the plane. Most airlines frown upon this. Why? It's not because of any law, it's purely for profit, because you're not going to buy their drinks if you've already got a bottle of your own. And of course also because they don't know whether they can control the passengers. But I can survive with a bottle of wine, so they don't have to worry about it. Anyway, that's the end of my Philippines adventures. Hope you've enjoyed my Philippines series. Thanks for watching. Until next time.